anytime, anywhere. Don't be caught off guard, make sure you prepare. Hurricane, earthquake, a tsunami. Fire and flood threaten your safety. Danger approaching, pay attention to the warnings and advisories. Your essential items packed and ready, so you won't be scrambling in an emergency. Prepare and be aware.
This message is brought to you by the Department of Emergency Management.
Good day and welcome to another edition of Real Talk in the Face of Danger, a podcast brought to you by the Department of Emergency Management. I am your host, Marcus Myers, and today we're going to be delving into a very interesting and intriguing topic, the role of emergency services in tourism. Joining us from the BHTA and also representing the youth, we have Tessely Moore. She is the Membership Relations Assistant, and also Rhea Walker. She is the Admin Assistant. And we're going to have a conversation about what the youth should be doing and how you can really protect your belongings when you're on your trips. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Okay, so Tessely, let's start with you. I'm going to give you a scenario, right? So I am looking to go overseas, Miami. Dolphin Mall, that kind of thing, right? The Bajans love a Dolphin Mall. But I'm going to Dolphin Mall. But I should be thinking about securing my belongings, right? I'm in a totally different environment, etc. What are some of the things that I should be thinking about as I am making that way over to Miami?
Okay, securing your belongings. Obviously, we'll travel with what we consider valuables, whether that be money, whether that be devices, passport, IDs, identification. We travel with them in a secure location, close to you, of course. When you get on, I'm assuming that you're staying at an accommodation, a hotel or anything of that nature. I would assume that you would keep it in a safe. We advise guests to keep their personal belongings in a safe and lock it under lock and key, so that it's secured and protected if anybody has to come in and to clean or anything of that nature.
So you would say, as a rule of thumb, utilizing the safe is just something you should always do?
Yes.
Okay.
Standard procedure.
Okay. Because I know some persons that say, I want to keep my things on me all the time, and that's my way of being secure.
Things tend to get lost like that. I can give an example of here in Barbados. We have younger guests who tend to travel with their valuables on the beach. So they leave them on the beach, they go into the water, and they come back, and sometimes they're not there. So they often advise them to keep them in the hotel accommodation in the safe.
Really? So how do you usually advise the visitors that come when they lose something? What is their course of action then when they come to Barbados?
Well, when you lose something, obviously you haven't followed the advice that we've been giving you upon arrival. When you tend to lose things in that manner, the first thing we do is obviously contact emergency, the police, and you report the matter to the police, and then they conduct their further investigations.
Right. So you don't just say hard days, you won't hear, you must take your legs, and then you just walk away?
Unfortunately not.
Okay,
We try
that
to
would've
solve
been
the
what
problem.
Okay. But that sounds much better than what I would do.
What I would actually add to that as well, if in the case where your passport, very important document, has been lost, you can contact your embassy of your home country or your consulate. They usually sometimes provide a temporary solution for replacement of those lost items. In the age also of technology, as a young person, we keep things digitalized. So we have scanner copies. There are apps as well you can use to safeguard some of those items. And as Tessely said, continue with the report is very important. Reporting that to the police is your next step after you contact your embassy or consulate.
So another rule of thumb would be scanning your documents.
Yeah, I would suggest that.
That's a good one, especially for the same passports and stuff.
Yes, having safeguard copies of very important documents such as travel documents, passport, identification, as Tessely mentioned, even in terms of your itinerary, in terms of your travel, all of those things. I mean, it can be some form of an ease. If you do happen to lose the original documents, you will still have those to present to the authorities, to your consulate, to front desk at the accommodation you're staying, so they know for sure, you're a guest here, what, and provide you with the next steps.
Okay, so we've covered belongings. I want to get back to, so again, going to Miami, right? So we covered the belongings, right? But in terms of my own medical steps that I can take as precautionary measures, etc., what are things that I can do, I guess, before I travel or when I get there, that would be just safe for me to do, like in terms of my own medical safety?
Sure. What I could recommend is, or what I do, is I would say maybe 3, 4, maybe even 6 weeks prior to your travel plans, if you have that window of time to plan, ensure that all of your medical vaccinations, if you need anything, any medical or your information is in place, your medications are up to date. So any travel specific vaccination you require, such as yellow fever, you will have the window of time to get that vaccination pre-hand prior to your travel.
What I can add, if you don't mind, research is very important also. Rhea mentioned the window that you may have if you know before time that you'll be traveling. You find out where is the closest medical facility, whether that be a clinic, whether that be a hospital, to which you're staying. You know if you need to get to that place, you know the directions, you know how to get there, whether you need a taxi, whatever the case may be. So research is also important in that case.
Okay, and also when we're going to these different countries, a lot of them may have high incidence of natural disasters. How would you prepare for any possible natural disasters before you leave, before I leave and I go to Miami and I know that there can be some huge systems?
Okay, so research again, tracking the system. So we often are aware of the system, whether that be a hurricane or whatever the case may be. Sometimes we have a precautionary measure to take. Whether that be listening to the news or whatever the case may be, we need to be alert in what we know. We know that there are seasons sometimes for certain disasters, such as hurricanes, and we must be alert and as to when a hurricane will be coming or whatever the case may be, so that we will stay on track.
Anything that you would add, Rhea?
What I would add to, and this is prior, you asked prior to travel. I will also suggest putting travelers insurance in place, just in the event, you do go to the country, and that also covers what we spoke about prior to loss of any of the documentation, and medical insurance. Anything happens during your stay at that certain location, if there is a natural disaster, you also have that in place that will kick in, that will assist you while you're overseas. Insurance
sounds like a great idea. That does, because you never know what the possible eventualities can be, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's bring it back home. So I look at the prices for Miami, and it turns out that the prices are too high. So I decide, you know what, let me look for something that's more affordable, and I decide to do a staycation. I don't think that many of us consider the preparation for staycations as much as we could. So I just want to know, when we're on staycations as locals, what are some things we should be doing in the case of an emergency or prior to any possible emergencies?
So staycations are usually offered to locals. They have the opportunity of getting the same experiences that a guest will get staying at an accommodation property in the same island of which they live. We encourage locals, when they're staycationing, to follow the same practices. Although they live on island, we say the island is small, we could get to and from easily. We encourage locals to take the same precautionary measures that guests outside of the island coming into the island would take, whether that is walking with your medications, walking with any insurance documents or any identification that they would need should anything have to happen to them on property.
What I will also add, the same advice we will give to guests or tourists, to our locals as well. Research. So research the property you're going to be staying at. Know the surroundings of the property. If you are traveling staying on property by yourself, be aware of, safety points, the guidelines of the hotel or the accommodation you're staying at. If you're traveling in a group, would suggest if you do know first aid, that'd be great. But do know safety personnel on property or get to know what you'd have to do in an event of the natural disaster or the emergency. Be sure, and it's a funny thing to say, but some locals don't even know the emergency numbers to dial. But you can dial 911 as a general number should an emergency occur and you're off property or on property, and the quickest thing to do, 911.
And what I can add, whether you're a guest, whether that is a resident or you're a non-resident, we often encourage persons to wear their bands, their medical bands, that would identify if they have an illness or what the illness would be and how to take precautions should something happen and they're not able to articulate for themselves.
I hope that persons listening or watching are taking notes, because I just heard like 5 great tips and some that I would definitely enforce myself. And I really want to thank you for giving all the information. And I can tell that the BHTA has quite a team indeed. And I'm really happy that you can share this with us, and it's a lot of takeaways and tidbits for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
That was another episode of Real Talk in the Face of Danger. I would like to thank Mrs. Paris, Mr. Ford, Miss Moore, and Miss Walker for sharing these incredible insights on how emergency services impact tourism and what you need to think about when you are in the face of an emergency, anytime that you are leaving the country or even in the country doing a staycation. This episode was brought to you by the Department of Emergency Management in association with the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, as well as the Courtyard by Marriott Bridgetown. For any questions or queries about tourism, you can contact the BHTA via their website or give them a call. Thank you.